Yo, peace and love, peace and love. My name is Q. Some know me as GroovyWoo. I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. This is Melanated-Machine-Learning, episode 2. How did I get here? If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you've already been here before, welcome back. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I just want to give a couple recaps and a little bit of information because it's been a while since I dropped the first episode. So I got the social media pages and everything up. Got the logo and everything as well. So you can type in Melanated-Machine-Learning or you can type in MML Vision. Either one, it should probably show up. I haven't did all the social media pages as of yet, but I got a few of them already lined up. I've been meeting with an AI collective, so we got some things in the works. So that's been kind of taking my time from doing that as well. Got some feedback on episode 1, so I just want to make sure I drop another one for this one. So basically, now that we got a few things rolling and whatnot and on the move, I just want to take a step back and just share how I even got into the machine learning space to begin with. So before I do that though, I do want to take a step back and just actually set the foundation of what machine learning is, because I know first episode I just talked about melanated machine learning, and I just kind of set the stage on that, and I actually didn't even talk about machine learning. So I wanted to make sure I talked about that and kind of go more in depth, and then just actually kind of get more into as these episodes progress and as I'm getting further into the space anyway. So what is machine learning? Machine learning is a branch or a subset of artificial intelligence that allows systems to learn from data and make decisions without being explicitly programmed every step of the way. So an analogy of that is kind of like teaching a child how to recognize different types of fruits, but instead of the rules, you're given examples and it figures it out on its own. So you have a basket of fruits, or you put all these different fruits out on the table: apple, oranges, pears, bananas, and you hold up a picture of an orange. It's going to basically try to match that and kind of go from there. Same with the apple and things of that nature. Another example you may be familiar with: Netflix. So Netflix has a recommendation or recommending shows. So if you watch a particular show, it's going to recommend you something that's kind of similar to that. Another example that they have is spam filters in your email. So when you get certain emails, it's either going to be labeled spam or not spam. If it goes to spam, it may go to your inbox, unless you have something a little bit more in depth. Otherwise, it's going to go to your inbox or it's going to go to the spam. So that's why it's important to check your spam folder, because sometimes if somebody sends you a message and it's a little bit unfamiliar, it's going to go to the spam folder. Another example is voice assistants, which is kind of like Siri or Alexa. Well, we won't go into Siri because Siri didn't do too well. But anyway, like Alexa and all these other voice platforms that they actually have. And then obviously we'll go more in depth as everything goes. We can even think of like YouTube or about Spotify. So that's basically the gist of machine learning. So now that we have a little bit of information on machine learning, we'll break down the main types of machine learning. So you'll probably hear these terms pretty often. And these are some of the things that I'll get into as we get down further into the machine learning space. And so first we have supervised learning, and basically uses labeled data. So basically everything is going to be evolved around the data. So if it's actually labeled, that's how it's going to be used, and it's going to be trained in a certain form or fashion. So just for instance, we'll take, let's just say you have a bunch of pictures of cats. If you keep uploading a whole bunch of pictures of cats, it's going to recognize the different forms of cats. Same thing with like dogs. You put a whole bunch of pictures of dogs and you put it into this type of model or this type of framework. It's basically a data set. And when you have that information, let's just say you want to play a game and say, hey, is this a cat or a dog? So based on the information that you've already fed it, if you put in a picture of a cat, it's going to say, oh, this is a cat. Or if you put in a dog, it's going to do a picture of a dog. I don't know different types of cats, but I'll just say if you put in a picture of a pit bull, it's going to be like, oh, this is a dog versus a cat. If you do a picture of a Rottweiler, it's going to say, oh, this is a dog versus a cat. So it's kind of the same thing. Another example that they have of supervised learning is predicting housing prices based on features. So give examples: prices of homes are based on certain areas, or if they have certain features within a home, whether it's 1-story, 2-story, whether it's a certain square footage, things of that nature. Another example that they have is email spam detection. Is it spam or is it not spam? If it's kind of familiar, or if you have if you're getting emails from some of the same people, it's not really going to say that it's spam because they already recognize it. But if somehow something seems a little bit suspicious, then it's going to put it into the spam folder. So that's why it's important to check your spam folder, because sometimes you may get messages and you didn't know somebody actually sent you a message. So next we have on the list is unsupervised learning, and this is basically like no label. So it's basically raw data For this particular one, the model basically finds patterns within all the raw data that you basically fed it. So it's kind of like imagine you have a puzzle piece or a box of puzzle pieces. There's no picture on the box and you're putting the puzzle together. So one of the examples they have on is customer segmentation. So as far as customer segmentation, you think about businesses, you think about companies. So when consumers, when they buy products, they basically base it on demographic, geographic, behavior, or is it value based? So anytime you're like buying something, it's part of that customer segmentation. So another form of, or another example of unsupervised learning is anomaly detection, which is basically fraud detection. So when we think about credit card or certain transactions, like, oh, I didn't do this type of transaction, where is it coming from? That's one of the things as well. If you're going through like credit statement, everything seems pretty normal, but there's one of them that kind of seems out of the ordinary. That could be a sign of fraud detection, possibly. It really just depends on the habits. Another example that we have is semi-supervised learning, and I won't go too deep into that one, but I definitely just wanted to mention it just in case. But it's basically taking supervised and unsupervised and putting them together. So it's a mixture of labeled data and unlabeled data. So sometimes that can be used when labeling can be expensive or it can be difficult, because sometimes there'll even be a point to where something may start off as unsupervised and then eventually it may lead to supervised, because this unsupervised is unlabeled data and then supervised is labeled data. So I just wanted to mention that. So the next one that we have, or the last one in this case, is going to be reinforcement learning. And this is when a model or an agent learns by interacting in an environment and receiving feedback. It's basically the reward and the punishment. So you receive a reward for doing something good and a punishment for doing something bad. That's basically another form of training. So you could think of it like training a dog. Some use it for self-driving cars. I like to think of it as like kids or like babies, or whether you're teaching it to potty train, or whether you're teaching it not to touch the stove, or whether you're telling it certain things, it's going to learn, and sometimes it's either going to get rewarded or it's going to get punished. So that's just one of those things that I think about in that aspect. Another example that they have is game playing AI. So for instance, if you ever played chess with a computer, that's one form of AI. It's basically learning your moves and it's going to try to outbeat you. They have Go, which is another game. If you ever look at an article or like a study about it a few years ago called AlphaGo, and that was basically one of the times where the computer or the model basically became so good that it actually beat a human component. And that was one of the times when it was actually like a breakthrough in technology, because it found all the ways that it can actually beat the human, and actually did. It lost the first time, I believe, and then I think like a year or two later it actually ended up winning. So if you ever get a chance to look it up, it's called AlphaGo. Then another example that we have of reinforcement learning is robot navigation or delivery drones. So you can think about like Tesla, the robot cars. You can think of Waymo, the robo taxis. You can think about Amazon with the delivery drones. So yeah, those are just a few of the examples that we have for machine learning. I just want to make sure I give that overview. So how did I get here to begin with? So you're probably wondering, how did I get here, right? Nah, I'm playing. But so basically how I got here to begin with, a few years ago, I want to say back in 2020, I was kind of going through shift as far as everyone else. I know that everyone was going through a lot of different changes and shifts or whatnot, but for me, I wanted to kind of switch careers, and I kind of figure out what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to have a job just to get a job, and I felt like I was kind of at a standstill or whatnot. So I was like, I need to look into something else. What's the type of skill set that I can actually learn that's going to be here for a while? Around that same time, I started learning how to invest, and I started learning how to trade. So I was incorporating in that as far as like working and trading and things of that nature. I was like, okay, cool. So then I was networking or whatnot. Somebody had told me you should look into data science or like data analytics, because you like to research, you like puzzles, you're always like researching and doing some stuff. So I was like, okay, cool, let me go ahead and check it out. And upon checking it out, I was kind of turned away, just because in the process of looking for that, there was like SQL and there was coding and programming. And for me, I didn't really like that. I didn't like SQL. And when I was in college, I didn't like programming in college, because I was introduced to C, and it wasn't clicking for me. So I was kind of instantly turned off, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. But anyway, something told me to keep on going, and I was looking into that. And I actually came across machine learning in that process as well, because from what I've learned, data scientists, machine learning engineers, and like a few other ones, they kind of coincide with one another. Data analytics, data scientists, and machine learning, some of those roles are kind of interchangeable in that space, because everything revolves around data. And that's what kind of like stuck with me as far as like something in data. And then when I started diving into machine learning to kind of see what this all entails, I came across artificial intelligence, because that was like one of the main things that was mentioned. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I know I need to get familiar with artificial intelligence because that's already at the forefront. Mind you, this is 2020, this is pandemic, COVID, all that type of stuff or whatever. So AI was kind of already in the talks anyway, and I was kind of already familiar with it, but I wasn't deep diving at that time. So I was like, cool, maybe it's something I need to look into. The key thing that actually stood out to me when I was looking at the examples, when they was talking about the housing predictions, which is again part of the supervised learning, when they were talking about housing predictions, I started thinking about stock market predictions, because I was like, oh, cool. And the reason why I even say that was because how I actually got into investing was because of Earn Your Leisure. I watch Market Mondays a lot. Shout out to Ian Dunlap, the master investor. He actually got me more so into actually trading. I was trading futures at one point in time. I was basically practice trading and stuff like that, so I can actually put my real money up and learn how to actually trade. And it actually helped until I stopped trading. But anyway, I basically wanted to learn how to invest, but I also wanted to trade. And I was like, okay, well, if we're predicting housing prices, how can I actually predict stock market prices? Because that's essentially what he did. He was on Market Mondays and he was predicting these prices, and I would watch it drop and it hit those levels, and then you get in and you buy the shares and make money off of that. And that was my thing. I didn't want to stay behind the desk all day. And I was like, man, if I could just trade, I could trade stocks or I could trade futures, that'll basically get me to where I need to go and actually make money. You make money just for clicking a few buttons. And then I was like, what if I can actually make a trading bot? So if it hits this level, it gets in and it knows how to get out, like your entry and your exit points. So that's when the idea actually came into like, well, maybe I should actually look more into this machine learning, and I can do it from a personal side and I can do it from a career business side, because I can tackle two birds with one stone. For one, I wanted to use it to make money on the stock and trading and investing side, and two, I can use it off of data, because if I already like researching and already like diving into certain things, that's going to be one thing. And then I can just figure out the skill set and be into any industry, because every industry revolves around data, whether it's healthcare, whether it's tech, whether it's finance, whether it's anything, everything revolves around data. You even think about like whether you're watching this on YouTube or whether you're watching this on the media, this is a form of data basically when you upload a picture or anything like that. So that's kind of where I got to. I had to figure that point out. So with that being said, I wanted to figure out what do I need to learn to actually get to where I need to go. Fast forward, I had some life issues, ups and downs or whatnot, and then I got back to a point of, man, I need to get back to a skill set because I need to progress and things of that nature. And it was either going to be between cybersecurity or it was machine learning. And I wanted to go with cybersecurity only because it was like a solidified role or whatnot. But then you had to figure out, well, what is it within cybersecurity that you actually want to get into? And I was like, man, I don't really know. So I was like, well, let me just go back to machine learning because I was already doing that anyway. I was already interested and I can dive in deeper. And that's basically how I got to here. So this is like my second time around in regards to this, but this time it's a lot bigger and I'm actually like building with purpose and all that type of stuff. So I'm excited for some of the projects that I plan on getting into. So I'm starting with Python because that's the main thing that's needed in order to program certain things, but eventually that programming in Python is going to lead me down further into machine learning, doing the models and things of that nature. And basically I'll start off with supervised learning. Eventually I'll get into unsupervised learning, but the main thing I want to do right now is supervised learning. So I'll have a few different examples of that. And so like that's when it's going to actually start click, because I'm really trying to learn the skill set pretty quickly and I want to make sure that I'm getting the information and I'm basically executing. So I'm thinking about doing this series called Build With Me, when I'm basically actually building and showcasing some of the projects. And like I said, I'm going to start off with the supervised learning. I'll have a few examples of what it is I'm building and kind of go from there. I'm excited about some of the ideas that I have in mind. Hopefully I can put everything in place. It's just going to take some time to learn the skill set and execute. But the main thing is for me is just to actually learn, reverse engineer that. Like, this is what I want to do. How can I learn this? Because it's a lot of stuff that you can do in Python. It's a lot of things you can do in machine learning, but I don't want to take too much time learning everything. I just want to learn a few things so I can have a portfolio and put a few things on my belt. So yeah, I'll try to build some things in real time and break that down and make sure it's like a learning process. And again, I definitely want to still bring some people into this space. Like I want to have a subsection of like other people who are doing the same thing, something different. Like I said, I just want to kick it off just for me to actually like showcase, because I couldn't find what I was looking for, and then also to bring other people in the space, because I know there's a ton of people that's out there that's smarter than me, and if I can learn from them or if I can learn from this person, I'm trying to hurry up and quantum leap. So that's the goal that I'm trying to actually get into. Last but not least, this video is definitely longer than intended to. I probably rambled a little bit more than I intended to. I don't know if I'll break this into 2 parts or not. Maybe not. I don't really know. We'll see. If you have any additional information, any additional tips or anything like that, let me know. Put it in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that type of stuff. If you know something about machine learning, if you didn't learn about something, if you learned something new today, put it in the comments. Share with anyone who may be curious about machine learning, or if you just happen to be a curious individual in general, because anytime you learn something, it's like, again, the melanated machine learning. So what's one way you think machine learning can change the world or your community? So I want to basically pose that question. If you have any ideas, like I said, I got a couple ideas and some projects, but it's going to take me some time to actually build these things out. But I just wanted to pose that question to you, and I'll go from there. Other than that, I'll keep you posted on updates until the next one. Hopefully the next one won't be as long, and I'll get started on a few other projects. Like I said, right now I'm still doing the Python, but I plan to have a few Python projects soon, and then I'll actually have like machine learning projects that I can actually build on as well. So other than that, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Once again, my name is Q. Some know me as GroovyWoo. I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. This is Melanated-Machine-Learning. Stay positive, stay blessed, and stay hydrated, player. Peace.